Assassin's Creed Black Flag fans, you might want to break out the rum and have yourself a little celebration. The seafaring portion of Black Flag has been very sensibly spun out into a completely new IP, allowing people to team up in multiplayer and carve out a reputation for themselves across the high seas. Skull and Bones certainly looks interesting, but is it just Black Flag 2 without the assassins? Or is there something more?
Aim at the mark!
Mate, lend me your privateers, because here comes everything you need to know about Skull and Bones. First things first, yes, it looks like you can still make your crew sing shanties. So then, set in the early 18th century, i.e. toward the end of the golden age of piracy, Skull and Bones is a seafaring adventure that lets you take charge of your own ship and crew and attempt to make a name for yourself across the Indian Ocean. Unlike Assassin's Creed Black Flag, however, you're not just limited to steering a brig around the place. Already we know you can pilot a frigate, i.e. a tanky ship with a reinforced hull and a lot of stopping power, you can sail the more manoeuvrable brigantine with its front-facing battering ram, or you can try and take out your adversaries from afar in a sloop of war, complete with a mortar and long-range cannon. It looks as though these ships will be at least in part customizable, with the ability to design your own flag and faction emblem already confirmed. What is largely uncertain at this point, however, is how big these factions will be. Will they be akin to, say, a small clan in an RPG, or will they be more like the three main factions in Ubisoft's For Honor? From what we've seen so far, the Pirates of Skull and Bones are certainly a multicultural bunch, so it'll be interesting to see what you can do with your faction, and how big you can make it. Anyway, back to the ships. The idea is you start out with just the one ship, and as your fortunes as a pirate improve, you'll earn more of them. This, according to the team, will help you develop different playstyles, offering a greater variety of gameplay approaches and situational dependent strengths in combat and PvP with, and against, other players. Admittedly, that was all a little bit heavy on the marketing speech, but the exact wording of that last bit there leads me to expect there will be at least some player versus environment element to Skull and Bones, allowing you to plunder trade routes and fend off AI pirate hunters either solo or with friends as you build up your fleet and send out different ships to suit the situation at hand. How significant this portion will be, however, remains to be seen. Instead, the focus of the demo was very much on the PvP element, showing off a multiplayer mode called Loot Hunt. In Loot Hunt, teams of 5 compete to snatch the most loot from passing AI ships as possible, with the option to take lumps out of the other team along the way, if they so wish. In order to make the most of the opportunities available to them, and plunder ships both inland and further out, it'll be necessary for team members to split up and coordinate their efforts from afar, rather than sailing about in one big clump. Toward the end of the hunt, pirate hunters show up and immediately start attacking the team that's amassed the most loot, changing the nature of the game as it turns into a mad dash to escape. The winner is the team that makes it out with the most booty, so you'll need to be swift as well as tenacious in order to win. Speaking of running before the wind, Ubisoft is making a pretty big deal out of the tactical element to Skull and Bones. With good positioning vital to success, using the wind to your advantage is hugely important. This should be nothing new to anyone who's played Black Flag, of course, but it sounds like a couple of refinements might be in the works to make Skull and Bones a bit more of an in-depth experience. And when it comes to actually tackling your enemy, it seems like there are a number of pleasing options, from standard cannon to mortars to rockets, should they be more to your liking. Once a ship has been sufficiently weakened, you have the option to board it, although the question remains whether this is something you actually get to actively partake in, a la Black Flag, or whether it's an action that's automatically resolved. To be honest, from the footage we saw, I'd say that yes, this is an automatic action, although there is a chance this was a step that was sped up for the sake of the demonstration. Going toe-to-toe with other ships, of course, is all designed to increase your fortunes as you compete against other players to become the most successful pirate worldwide, so it's reasonable to assume there are league tables of some description to keep an eye on as you sail about the place. Interestingly, there's also been talk of the game changing season after season. Whether this will involve an ongoing battle for faction dominance in the same way For Honor is organised, at this point is uncertain, but if I had to put money down, I'd say it'll be a bit more freeform than having 3 main armies duke it out for supremacy. Rather, it seems like new and differing gameplay elements will be introduced to Skull and Bones over time. This in the interest of keeping things fresh for players as they ply their murderous trade on the high seas. Ubisoft clearly wants players to expect the unexpected after all, since they went to the trouble of throwing a Kraken in at the end of the presentation, just for good measure. So, lots of things up in the air right now, but at the same time, lots to be excited about. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing how Skull and Bones pans out as we count down to its release next autumn. How about you? Are you excited? Let us know in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, we have got plenty more for you to watch. Keep your eyes on Eurogamer for lots more from E3, and do subscribe in order to make sure you don't miss a thing. Thanks very much for watching, and have a lovely day.